This is my 2014 Volkswagen Jetta GLI with a transmission that's had issues. We flushed the fluid, had some luck, but lo and behold, we have transmission concerns with this car once again. Now, my suspicion with the old transmission is the valve body / mechatronic unit. However, just the cost of that part alone is fairly expensive, and I was actually able to find a donor transmission with the same code, that PQL, the same year, the same everything, out of a donor vehicle for only $390. And so when it comes to cars, I'm quite the gambling man and a little bit of a cheap. So let's see if we can bring this thing back to life, or if I'm about to waste an entire weekend trying to do so. Let's get to it. Now, for those of you who haven't seen the car, it's actually in pretty decent shape. It is one of those anniversary edition cars, so it's got some nice stitching on the seats and stuff, nice wheels, and it's actually fairly clean throughout. And I even got the engine bay all cleaned up, and it all turned out really good. And here's all that special stitching and all that stuff I'm talking about. So kind of a clean car to keep around. And really what made it unique was this transmission. This is a dual clutch 6-speed transmission. So it shifts like a manual and it's very quick to shift. So it's cool when they work. When they don't work, it's kind of a sad deal. You can't really go anywhere with it. It goes right into limp mode. And now before I start tearing into this repair, I have to get the coating off this original unit just in case they don't match up, so I can program it into that other unit and we don't have any issues coming to start this thing. So we're gonna do that quick. All we're gonna do is go to our control modules, transmission, we're gonna check our coding. I'm gonna get a screenshot of this so we don't mess anything up. And with that out of the way, we just gotta replace the transmission, which should be a piece of cake. Now, Volkswagen likes to hide certain bolts, and now that I got the starter out, you can see access to one of the bell housing bolts. I'll show you. Right down here. It just hides right underneath the starter. So you gotta be careful with some of these bolts because they like to hide them. But here's another quick tip with some of these Volkswagen products. Some of you probably already know this. A lot of them use this hex style head, but then you can also have a triple square drive for the inside, like so. And what this allows you to do is actually get on this thing, because some of these fasteners, you can't get a socket onto this hex portion because it's buried in a secret captivity. And which brings me to a quick plug on these sockets I got here. Lexivon has sent me some toolage that I get to use on the channel here, stuff that I will be using on a lot of different cars, but we have triple square drive, Torx, and hex. These are full master kits offered by Lexivon. Now, over the years, I've attempted to do mechanic work, some would say, and I've gone through many different bits and sockets and hex drives and you name it. And now all the time, they always strip out, so I don't know how long the Lexivons will last, but they are a full, complete set, and they don't miss and skip a beat. I've had the Snap-ons, Blue Points, Napa brands, broken SK tools, and even Stanley. Over time, these all wear out. And as you can see, these are full master kits with a blown-out case to keep them nice and organized, and a master hex set from metric and standard as well. Not only that, they offer even more tools, so you'll have to get on their website and see what they got. Here is a butane soldering iron. Again, stuff that comes in very handy when you're doing mechanical repairs. But as you can see, the quality of these tools are consistent with basically all the tools that I've had throughout these years. So if you're looking for some budget-friendly socket sets like these that are actually decent quality, I'll leave a link in the description below. You can take a peek at them for yourself. Now let's get the rest of these bolts out. All right, top side is complete. Got all the bellow housing bolts on top out, but I am gonna leave these coolant lines on right now and the mount on because I gotta do stuff underneath first, and I don't want a big coolant mess dripping on my head. We'll probably have to drain the coolant on this as well. And I need to figure out how to support this engine when I take the transmission out, because I don't have one of those big bars here. So I might do some hillbilly stuff with a 2x4, and I'll anchor here with a ratchet strap. I don't know. But either way, we got to tackle what's underneath. So let's do that. Now, nothing terribly daunting under here. We got this intercooler piping that's got to come out. Some bellow housing bolts here. We got this dog bone. We got to get the axles out, and I might actually pull this driver's side axle out. So I might take the wheel off just to give myself a little more room, and I'll probably drain the fluid on this thing too. But yeah, overall, once that's done, we can get this thing pulled out of here, which I don't think will be a problem. So nothing left but the crying. All right, this is the last bolt holding this thing together. You can see the case is already cracked in half and ready to come apart. Axles are off on both sides. All the electrical connections, all this stuff's out of the way. This thing does swing quite a bit with this mount off, so we should be fine. Now I gotta go up to the top and take the rest of the stuff off, but I am gonna do it from a ladder. I'm gonna support this thing first, and then I'll get on top. It might be a lot easier to do it that way. All right, almost forgot to drain the fluid. Let's do that now. We'll catch the fluid and get a look at that too. While we're at it, there we go. All right, I am ready to come out. I just had that one bell housing bolt here. I got this all kind of supported here. But now we gotta climb the ladder of success, like so. And don't judge me on this, but we got the engine supported. We just gotta take the rest of the mounts off here. This coolant line's off, and everything else in the back is disconnected. So everything's good on top. We just got 2 bolts, and then we gotta jerry this thing out of here. So let's get to work. Come on now. Dripping all over me. Oh, it's out. Oh, holy moly, she's heavy. Cripes. Yep. And in typical Volkswagen fashion, it's like a psycho girlfriend. You can't handle me at my worst. You don't deserve me at my other worst. Let me show you what I got going on here. So this is a dual mass flywheel, and there's springs inside of here that's supposed to take up some of this vibration and play. When they go bad, you start to have issues like chattering, all sorts of weird things can happen. Now there should be a little rotational play in these, but this one's very excessive. I can make this go pretty far. And the lateral movement should be 0, and we have a ton of lateral movement. So this one is shot, and we got to replace it. However, this used one also came with the dual mass flywheel, but as you can see, this one is also shot. Now I got to order a dual mass flywheel because I don't have one, so this thing's going to hang on the hoist for a few days, and we will come back. So let's cut to the other one. Let's go. And just like that, we are back. So the flex plate is now in. I did throw a rear main seal on the thing as well. And I will say, doing the torque specs for these flex plates is actually kind of insane. It's 60 Newton meters plus 90 degrees. And doing it by yourself is kind of a pain in the butt. Now all that is buttoned up, and we just got to go back in with the new used transmission into the car. And hopefully, it's not too big of a fight. Okay, and just like that, it's back in. And there's definitely a technique to getting this thing back in there, but we figured it out. So now I'm gonna finish up, tighten all the bolts underneath, throw the axle back in, do all that stuff under, do the top side, and we just gotta put fluid in it. It's actually going pretty smooth. It shouldn't be much longer, and we should be back ready to rock this thing on the road. Like that, we are back together, all buttoned up. This is probably one of the easiest transmissions I think I've ever done in my entire lifetime. It was very quick. You could do this thing in no time. I guarantee if you had all your parts in ducks in a row, you could get one of these things done in probably less than 2 hours. It's pretty straightforward and really simple to do. There's like nothing to it. All right, now real quick, we need to reprogram the coding in this TCM before we even get any further on it. And we also need to put fluid in it still, and then we're done. We can take it for a test drive and see how it performs. So let's do that quick, make sure everything's good to go on the module, and then we should be ready to rock. Back into our trans module here, found it. We're gonna check our coding, and let's confirm our old coding. As you can see, our software coding is the same. Actually, our workshop code, the importer number, and the equipment number needs to be replaced and changed. So we gotta do all this updating here. So this one is 44551 111 44551. Coded. Do it now. Coding accepted. So we should be ready to rock here. Should start now with that. All right, so now it should fire. And we got those parameters all coded in there. See what it does here. Fires right up. Now that it's just running, let's get the fluid all changed quick and make sure that's full. All right, the fluid is full, and I just went through and reset all the adaptations on this thing, so we're ready for the test drive. So this should be the moment of truth. Hopefully this thing shifts like it's supposed to. Let's see what it does. 10 minutes of driving. We got to go through the gears, a whole 9 yards, but hopefully we don't go into limp mode. Let's go. Taking off from a start here. Well, it did shift really, really smooth. So that's a plus. I'm gonna try and get like 15 minutes of just easy runtime on this thing. And then I think I'm supposed to do it in like 6th gear too. I just have to look at my adaptations and make sure I'm doing it right for the calibration. But I think everything's gonna go smoothly here, and we should have a functioning DSG transmission once again. So thank God. Currently we have nothing on the dash. 0 fault codes in the VCDS here found in the transmission module, so that's a plus. Right now I got about 15 minutes of run time on this thing in high gear, and I think everything's feeling normal. We got reverse really good. I ran it in sport mode. I ran it through the gears with the paddle shifts. Everything is really smooth. I think the adaptation is good to go. We're gonna drive back to the shop right now, and we'll just verify everything looks good on the way back. And yeah, I think fingers crossed, we are ready to rock. We got a good transmission in this thing. But on the way back, we're gonna really analyze this thing, and we'll get on a little bit just to make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Well, the downshifts working really smooth. I got it in sport mode right now. See how it rips on this corner. Sweet. All right, shop bound, baby. There you have it. The Jetta is back in business. And honestly, if the dealership charges like $10,000 to replace these transmissions, dude, I would do it every day of the week. This was by far one of the easiest transmissions to replace. So if you have an issue with the DSG transmission on the Jetta, definitely take on the task. There's not a lot of stuff that has to come apart, and it drops out fairly easy. It comes out kind of kitty-wampus, but it's fairly easy to do the job. So definitely worth doing it if you're a DIYer. Now, after a few 100 miles, I probably will just change that DSG fluid once again, just because I don't know the history of this transmission. However, it does have lower miles, but just to be on the safe side, we'll change the fluid and the filter just once more after a few 100 miles, just to make sure everything is up to snuff and good to go. And in the meantime, I have to throw on these panels I left off just in case. So I'm gonna throw these on, but there you have it. Jetta transmission replacement. Piece of cake. Do it yourself, people.